Welcome to the enchanting world of the Never Cross a Witch Bitch podcast. Prepare to be captivated as we embark on a thrilling journey into the realm of spirituality with our remarkable team of a distinctive energy mixture. Leading the way is Mitch Garlington, a gifted gay male witch, touring stage medium, and psychic tarot card reader. With a background in the competitive corporate world and experience as a Cher impersonator, Mitch brings a fresh and unique perspective to our discussions. Next, we have Lucy Locke, a former fundamentalist Christian missionary turned sex shop manager turned professional dog groomer turned psychic medium, trance channeler, and tarot card reader. Her incredible transformation into the spiritual world is truly inspiring. And last but certainly not least, we have Carly Batten, a second-generation practicing pagan, intuitive oracle card reader, and spiritual mother to many. Carly brings a grounded approach and simple understanding to the complexities of spiritual living. Together, we form an unstoppable podcast as we delve into all things spiritual and the journey of life. Our mission is crystal clear: to spread the message that spirit embraces all and that each of us is on a spiritual path, whether we realize it or not. So buckle up and get ready for an exhilarating adventure with the Never Cross a Witch Bitch podcast. Please note that all ideas discussed and presented in this podcast are the personal opinions of the individual podcasters and do not necessarily reflect the views of each other or the viewers. Oh, come on. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Never Cross a Witch Bitch. And I want to introduce myself, Lucy Locke, aka Verbal Diarrhea.
Dear.
We've got on the bottom today, Mitch Garlington.
Hello, guys. Dear.
Where he says he prefers to be.
I know you're gonna I can't even speak. Okay. Oh, so let's let our listeners into the joke. We've had a bit of a giggle, haven't we, about the fact that yeah, we obviously talk quite a lot, me and Lucy, and poor old Mitch, bless him, sits there going trying to get his. So Lucy, if you're listening and not watching, Lucy has changed her screen name to Verbal Diarrhea, and as it comes on to record, it says Verbal Diarrhea has clicked record, and I just couldn't stop laughing.
Oh dear.
It's just so apologies. Hi everybody, welcome to the podcast. We are professional, honestly.
I thought you were laughing at the fact that Mitch was on the bottom, and
no, we're gonna go off that conversation because it just got very there you go.
It was the comment that got me when she kicked in and it said the same thing. I was like, oh, yeah.
did it actually say Verbal Diarrhea?
I'm gonna hold this crystal just to compose.
That's quite a phallic-looking crystal there, Mitch. We're on one today. We're on one.
Me.
Well, if you see this episode, just to let you know, it's a banked one, meaning we recorded it beforehand, and one of us is sick or
we haven't managed to get there, or
the verbal diarrhea caused dehydration or whatever. So but we're very giddy today. But we're going to discuss what is it? Oh my God, now I can't even say it. What is it to be a spirit having a human experience? To the bottom.
That's a very structured beginning.
To the bottom. I think we're here. Okay, so I'm going to be serious now. I think we're actually here. From what Spirit have shown me over the times, and when I do readings for people, that it's almost okay to be human. We're allowed to have these human experiences, and with that is all the sins, isn't it? It's having the great sex, having the money, having the food that is a little bit indulgent, having all of it, but in measure, as long as we don't sort of take it to a point where it becomes too exaggerated, we can experience pretty much anything, can't we, within reason, really. I think that's what the human experience is. Spirit has enrolled us to come back to feel all these things, and with it all those emotions. So when you have great sex, you have a great orgasm usually. Food can give you that as well, but it's kind of like it's all these things. We're here to feel all these emotions, all these ways of being alive, essentially, isn't it, really?
Mm-hmm.
Agreed. Recently, I must say, for me,
yeah, and we can talk
this is
about
part
that.
of my this is part of my deconstruction. Was I was taught, and it was ingrained in me from quite young, that you don't enjoy any of those indulgences.
Gosh.
That's sinful, that's not, godly. And so I went through phases of my life where even watching a movie or TV or listening to music that I enjoyed, I would almost punish myself because I felt like that was going against God in the spirit world. And it was you, Mitch. Like, I've deconstructed loads, but there's still little tangles. Does that make sense? Little threads. And I'm enjoying life, but I think there was always this little guilt behind me. Oh, look at that. Your spirit guides are moving your camera.
You're moving again.
They love it and it's interesting. It's the same bit we talked about last time that is coming on again.
Yeah.
That's really
maybe I meant to say it. Yeah. That even though I was enjoying life and trying to enjoy life and deconstruct a lot, there was always this little bit of doubt, little bit of guilt in the back of my head. Or what would they say if they, and when you spoke that to me many months ago, Mitch, it just snapped it. And I don't even think you knew. Well, I know you didn't know that that's actually something I was experiencing when you said that. But you said that to me, that spirit is showing you that over and over again. And yeah, everything, I think, in moderation. You can go overboard.
Definitely.
You can, but for me, yeah. There's been things I've enjoyed in my past, and I should have felt guilty for it coming from my past, but I didn't. I felt more guilty towards the people and more worried about what the people would think and what they would judge me on. But yeah, amazing stuff that we have permission to live.
Absolutely. And I think this is really interesting because a lot of people that you sort of see and you talk to on the spiritual scene, they want to be spiritual, but they have this real block that they're not allowed to maybe earn a certain amount of money, or they shouldn't be maybe indulging in certain types of food, whether it's meat or alcohol or whatever, because to be a pure channel for spirit, you're not allowed that stuff, and you can have bloody what you want. I honestly don't think that affects your ability to link with spirit and to link and to provide evidence. I honestly feel that those are two separate disciplines or two separate energy lines for me anyway. So I will have the good alcohol. Go on.
Go for it. No, go for it.
I was going to say, like, I will have the good alcohol. I'll have the good food. I'll have the good sex when it's going, because it's kind of like we're here to experience all of that stuff, Definitely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Holly's suspiciously quiet at the moment.
Do you know why? Do you know why she's quiet?
Good
she's
sex.
a vegetarian. She's like.
But
I've not always been a vegetarian. So I've been a. Go on.
Is it spiritual reasons you're a vegetarian?
No, well, I don't know, possibly. Okay, let's have a little unpick, shall we? Should we do a little bit of online shadow work? Let's have a little thought pattern. So, I think for me, it happened. I mean, I've probably been vegetarian for at least the last 15 years. 15 sort of 14 15 years, so yeah, so not like not like, oh, yesterday I woke up, I'm going to be vegetarian. So obviously I've been very lucky. I've been brought up in this background, the pagan background, been very open. I've never really been constricted with my belief system. I've always been allowed to, so I've had parents that have been quite happy to house that, which is nice. But I think when I really started finding myself, which would be at least 20, I'd say really started falling into it would be at least 20, 22 years ago. So when I really started being me, who I am, not just it underlining the surface. I mean, I've always you've always sort of touch on it, don't you? So 20 years ago when I really started feeling things, and then obviously 15 years ago when things really started falling into place, it just started to feel progressively wrong to eat me. I just it so technically speaking, you could say it's a spiritual reason, but I didn't consciously go, right, that's it. I'm not eating piggies and not eating. Don't get me wrong, I still love the smell of cooking bacon. Oh, you know, but the thought of putting it in my mouth and eating it, it's like I love Chinese and sweet and sour chicken balls, and love a chicken ball. But I just that thought of putting it in my keep it clean, Mr. Garlington.
Have I said anything?
No, it was a cheeky smirk on your face, that little twinkle in your eye. It's just yeah. It was like a Rowan Atkinson moment. But it just I don't know, it just started to feel progressively it would actually churn my stomach. I think what my progression was I obviously was going through a thought pattern. So there must have been something in my life that made me decide that this didn't feel right. I didn't feel comfortable with it. And then I have a light bulb moment, as we all do. We're talking about you being a toilet witch, Lucy. I was sat on the loo having a wee, and from my house you can hear it's a relatively main road, but you can hear the piggy lorries when they're going to the abattoir and the screaming of the pigs. It was a bit like a Silence of the Lambs moment, and I could still hear them all the way. It was proper piggies, scared piggies. I could hear them all the way down the road, and I was just like, oh no, I can't do that. I can't do it anymore. I can't do it anymore. So I stopped eating meat. So, but I will eat, I'll eat a bit of fish. I suppose I'm pescatarian rather than vegetarian. So, was it a spiritual thing? Well, I suppose so. But it just progressed, It was.
But I think
it was
that's
just something
you
that
being
around.
I think I see that as you being authentic to yourself and to what's going on inside of you. Does that make sense? You do get I have no problem people being vegetarian or vegan. Zero problems until they try to enforce it on me. Then my hackles go up, if that makes sense. And I had a friend that went vegan. I've had numerous friends go vegan, and I want to tell a joke, but I don't want to offend anyone.
Tell it anyway.
How do you know? How do you know if
Trigger
vegans
warning,
in the room?
if you don't want to listen, skip.
It's not dirty. How do you know if vegans? How do you
trying to tell the joke. She's doing a Mitch. Abba.
How do you know a vegan is in the room?
I don't know. How do you know a vegan's in the room?
They tell you. Sorry, because sorry.
Oh, we're gonna get told off for that. Somebody's gonna make a comment.
I honestly have zero problem with people being vegans. I had this friend that went vegan, and she was a bit overweight, and I had no problem with her being overweight, but she started in that I was a psychopath and a sociopath for eating meat, and use it as a real I'm up here, you're down here kind of thing.
A suppression sort of thing.
Oh yeah, and I knew because she went vegan with another friend of mine, but he was honest about his veganism, and he was like, once a week we do have a cheeky McDonald's together, and I thought, interesting. And then she came over and she's like, she wasn't losing weight. And I thought, oh, if I went vegan, I would hope that I would lose weight because you're living off sawdust and lettuce and like, I'm sorry, that's no, please forgive me, you guys. That's me really, really rude. I'm sorry because I don't think that way because I have some wonderful, beautiful vegan friends. I really, really do that do not put it on me. They enjoy their life and they feel a lot better for it. I think that's being authentic to themselves, and I really actually admire that. So I'm going to put that out there. But she would come over and she would say, "Do you know hobnobs are vegan?" And she would eat a whole thing of like hobnobs in front of me. And I was like, okay. And then she'd say, "Do you know the smoky bacon Pringles are vegan?" And I'm like, well, why don't you just eat like if you like bacon, like that kind of thing. So anyway, she put up on Facebook this whole thing about we're sociopaths and murderers, and anyone that eats meat is disgusting and should kind of like die, kind of thing. And I wrote on her thing, "I know you went to McDonald's and had a Big Mac yesterday," on her Facebook in front of everyone. And she's never spoken to me since 7 years ago. I was like blocked on every platform there was. But I just thought, you're not being authentic. You're using it. Yeah.
No.
You're using it to elevate yourself.
And
when
to suppress others.
I think if you have a dietary thing that you're doing, or you don't like, I don't drink a lot of alcohol. Believe it or not, I used to be a part, I went through a stage of, for a year, especially, where I don't remember seeing a sober moment, barely, but, that's not true. But I drank very, very heavily for a year, and, and then would have fun drinking at social events after that. But about 2 years ago, my body changed. I like having a drink, but I am hungover for 2 to 3 days afterwards, even just having 1 to 2 drinks. My body just can't process the alcohol like it used to. And so for my own health and not wanting to waste my days away, does that make sense? I've chosen not to drink because I can have just as much fun not drinking, for me personally. But do I have a problem with anyone drinking around me? No, unless it's excessive, they're alcoholics and their life is suffering and things are falling apart for them, and there's an obvious issue going on there, I'd be concerned. But if someone wants to get together with me and have a few drinks in my presence, I have zero problem with that. I actually say, enjoy yourself. Let's do it. Let's have some fun and have a laugh and stuff like that. That's um, you know, my personal opinion. Everything in moderation and being authentic to who you are. Yeah.
Have you guys ever had it before where like you've had someone say that you're not a clean channel for spirit because of the way that you're either eating or drinking or smoking or whatever it is you do? Because I've had it before. I've done a beautiful
100%.
reading for someone, and they've said to me, "It's such a shame that you're a meat eater and you've been able to give this amazing evidence. Think what you could do if you didn't have all this meat or this dead carcass inside of you." And it's like, huh?
The way you said that, I'm really sorry.
And it's interesting you're saying about the alcohol, because obviously, like, I've been out with Lucy socially, and me and my husband, we do like a drink, on a social gathering. And Carly, I've been out with you as well, we do like, not to get pissed necessarily, but we like to have a few cheeky drinks, or quite a few cheeky drinks, But
what if you want to get pissed once in a while and have a real banger of a night?
Have a bit of a blowout or whatever, but it's not every day. It's not all the time. I don't sort of live off of it thinking, oh my God, I need a fix at 9 o'clock in the morning. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's all in a moderation, isn't it? And in the company you keep. So I don't think it has to poison or pollute anything that you're doing with spirit, because spirit connection is something so sacred. It's beyond all of that stuff, isn't it? And I feel like we talked earlier, spirit within reason are giving us permission. You can have this, you can explore this, you can see how this makes you feel. That's part of why we've come back to reascend, to feel all these things, good or bad, so experience a hangover, experience the good stuff, experience a food coma, and you'll either like it or you won't, but at least you've had the experience.
Exactly.
And I think people that are, because obviously some of what people do in the spiritual realm is to feel better as well. It's obviously you guys are talking. So when you have, well, you have a Reiki attunement, that is very diet controlled and water and
Loads of
you
water.
sort of have loads of water. You have that sort of detox, but some of that is also making you feel better and cleanse to enable you. Do you think that's to enable you to in tune? Because obviously we've got two ends of the scale now. We're obviously saying about not eating meat to channel spirit better. But obviously when you have a Reiki attunement, it's the same thought pattern, isn't it? Detoxing your body of all those chemicals, drinking the water, making sure you're maintaining purity to enable you to attune to the channel energies that are coming in.
I might get shot down in flames for this, but I honestly feel, for me, I honestly feel that when you're plugging into source, it doesn't matter how you plug into source. If you've got your body full of something or nothing, you're still plugging into source, aren't you? So for me, if I was to sort of maybe not have certain things in my body, yes, I might feel a little bit cleaner, but does it really impact the quality of the session? I think the healing energy will still come through the way it's meant to, because your intention has preset that forecast rather than you personally. That's my opinion to it.
Well, I'm going to
And
go
there may be
into
people
my
that completely disagree. Go on.
yeah, I'm going to go into my Bible thing where they don't follow that premise. Like they say, you're sinful and this and that, but actually the Bible says nothing can separate us from the love of God. Nothing. The word nothing, right? So you're right there. You can plug into source at any point. Would I want to be drunk and doing reads for people? Not necessarily. No, I don't think I would want to do that because I don't I'm not in control of my faculties and I like to be in control of my faculties when I'm doing that kind of thing. But when I'm doing readings, I'll be honest with you, when I'm doing any kind of spiritual work, my body is forgotten in those moments. I normally feel a lot of pain. I've got rheumatoid arthritis. You know what I'm saying? I've got issues with my body. I broke my neck when I was a young child. I have issues with my neck and it if I think about it, it aches. But I think I'm so used to it. Does that make sense that I don't? But when I'm doing spiritual work, all of that goes away. That's what part of the reason I love doing spiritual work, because it's like that kind of stuff just disappears and it's just spirit me and that person or spirit me and doing trance or whatever. But it's like my body just kind of goes to the side. And then when I come back and ground and stuff like that, then I'll realize, oh, I'm achy or this or that.
Yeah, that's really powerful, isn't it? And it shows that obviously it's being channeled from the correct place. It's like when I do a demonstration of mediumship, or even if I do a normal one-to-one reading, I will never drink anything before I do a session. And there are mediums out there that will drink and will do stuff. For me, I just feel it's ethically wrong, and I feel it's disrespectful to spirit as well as to the audience or the people that I'm reading for. So very often people will say to me, "Oh, Mitch, do you want to like a drink in the interval of the show?" And I'm like, "I'll have one at the end, but not while I'm working with spirit." So I like some of that stuff, but at the same time, I'm also responsible enough to know and respectful to the spirit world of like, these giftings are a gift. Don't fuck it up, don't abuse this stuff. And I think as long as we have that moderation, we can have the best of both worlds. So I would never do a Reiki session or anything drunk or whatever, but what I'm saying is when you plug in to source doesn't go away. It's still there for you, isn't it, really?
So again, it's terminology, isn't it? So we're talking about feeling better in ourselves. Do you think instead of people saying, well, you should eat this and you should drink this amount of water to enable you to channel the energy through, really it's a case of making yourself feel not stodgy. So if you ate a load of chips and then went and done Reiki healing, then you're going to feel stodgy as yourself, aren't you? So you're going to be transmitting some of that stodginess. So it's taking responsibility for what you're doing. And again, how do I want to say it? It's again maybe thinking about what you're putting into your own body to make you feel good with having that, you transmitting that energy. Do you get what? Do you get where I'm going? I'm really
Yeah.
I think
explaining it
that could
really
be true
badly,
for
aren't I?
some people. No, I think that could be, I think it's a personal journey. And like for some people,
Mm,
yes, eating light, being their body maybe processes things differently and stuff. For me, and I know for Mitch too, when I'm grounding, this is gonna, and people are gonna freak about this, but when I'm grounding, actually eating like a McDonald's or something quite heavy helps me ground.
Yeah,
It brings me back to
definitely.
earth.
mm,
Does that make
mm,
sense? Like that sounds really like to
mm,
other people, they might be like, oh my God, that is like awful. But for me, it's something that works. It's
mm.
part of getting back into the body. So I think, oh, if I lived off lettuce leaves, I'd probably be just off in La La Land because I be floating away like a
Yeah,
feather.
it's like that first time we went out for our double date with the boys and everything, and me and Lucy had our plate full of meat, and we're like, "Bring it on," sort of thing. But it does help us connect and ground, and like you say, it's just for us, it's what works, and it's not
Mm,
for everybody, but it's our thing, and we're not inflicting it on anybody else. And I think that's what you said earlier about Lucy, about like sort of others that seem to have those paths or those walks of life, they go into preachy mode, and it's like, just don't preach, because we're all on our journey. It's like, have you
Exactly.
guys changed, switching it up to a completely different sort of subject matter now? Money, which we talked about being another sort of sin. People get so scared if you're spiritually awoken, and the idea of you being able to earn money from your giftings, some people think that is so taboo and so wrong. But why? We all live in a world that's governed by money. We need money to survive,
mm,
and it's an
mm.
energy
I
exchange.
It's almost as
yeah,
tied to
I
if you
don't.
have money, you're egotistical or you're obviously a snob or this or
Mm,
that. And it's like, oh, if I'm poor, then I'm like humble and that kind of thing. Or if I'm just getting by, I'm humble and I no one
mm,
can accuse me of being a braggart or egotistical or flashy
mm,
or anything like that when I'm just getting this in my life. Again, it's all connected to that background that spirit does want abundance. And abundance can mean all kinds of different things. But financially,
Definitely.
spirit
mm,
doesn't just want you to get by.
Yeah, that they've
mm,
entrusted you almost as an employer for them. So if you were working in an employed company, you'd want to get paid properly for it, wouldn't you? So why should it be any different? You wouldn't go
mm,
to work
mm,
for nothing. So why do people that work spiritually seem to have this real problem with not being allowed to earn? I don't get it.
mm. I don't. I mean, this is something. It's not. I don't know. Again, it's very difficult, isn't it? Obviously, I run the stall more than I do the readings. I know when I
But
first come and
surely still
done
your
readings.
spiritual piece,
Yeah,
isn't it?
yeah. It's still a spiritual thing. I know when I first come and done readings with you, Mitch. I sort of said to you, "What's the price that everyone else is running at, so that you're all on the same page?" Because
Mm,
then that makes it fair on everybody. Um, and I did remember going, but that's a self me thing, and this is something I think as on the stall we've always struggled with. I don't know if it's a person thing, whether or not it's the individual person and how they're sort of bought how we're brought up, or whether or not it's because majority of us in the spiritual realm, we're very kind, and we have this, we don't ask for help and we don't ask for a lot. We just ask to be comfortable and happy. And do
yeah.
you know what I mean? We're not greedy. And I'm wondering whether sometimes it's us as persons, which is probably why we're all in the tribe. It's us as persons having that spirit experience as humans. Is it our spirit side seeking through, going, that makes us go, "Oh, you got to pay for this," and then our human side goes, "Oh no, we can't charge too much." Is it a battle of two entities at the same in yourself? I mean, the problem with the stall, um, I don't know. I mean, there's sometimes people come to the store and I gift stuff. Not a lot. Don't everybody come to Bardware and go, "Oh, that's all right. She gives us loads of stuff." It it's extreme cases, when when someone comes to the store and they need something. So
Yeah.
they'll be buying something anyway, and I might gift them an aura spray, or I gift them something I feel they will
Is
need that
that
will
why you
help them. I
gave me
don't give people.
the aura spray for free? I came up, I didn't wear my deodorant that day, was it? Because I stank, and you're
Yeah,
like,
that's
here
what
you
it
go.
was. Yeah, I was like, go away, you smell. Um, but no, there's time when you give people little bits and pieces. Um,
But
but
that's
it's
lovely
something
because you're choosing to do that, aren't you? It's like I've had it
yeah,
before where like I gifted, and there have been times when people have come to me and I know they can't afford a reading, but they desperately need something. And if it's been a quiet day, I've just said, sit down, I'm not going to charge you. It doesn't happen often, but now and again I have done that. But we choose to act accordingly in those moments, don't we, really?
Yeah, like me and Mitch have
yeah, we
traded
do.
readings. Like in the past,
Yeah.
one time we were at a fair, and I I desperately thought I want to get a read from you, Mitch, again. And he said, "Why don't we?" You had a moment, and he said, and I had a moment, and you said, "Why don't we trade?" And it's that exchange of energy. I feel that exchange of
Mm,
energy, and money is an exchange of energy. So if someone
Yeah.
sits in
mm,
front of me and they don't have what I'm asking for payment, that is me asking for that exchange of energy. I've given something, they give something back, and that is
mm,
Yeah.
how our
mm,
world works. We can't live without money, you know?
mm,
That's
mm,
just the way our world has been made. And so also I think too, people that sit in front of us don't realize, like I get people, I'm gonna be honest, that take the piss sometimes. And it really irritates me. I'll get messages in the evening
mm,
and they start, how are you? Hi, Lucy. How are you? And I'm thinking, why are they texting me? I haven't heard from this person, or I don't know them that well, that kind of thing. And I'm like, oh, how are you?
Yeah.
mm, mm,
And then they start in about something, my cat, you know, and I'm like, oh, I'm sorry to hear about your cat. And then they're like, do you have anything coming from spirit about my cat? I've had this loads of times. And I'm like,
I've had it
I'll just
sometimes. Yeah.
and I just say, actually, I'm not in tuned right now because I'm sitting here watching Grey's Anatomy or my serial killer documentary with in my underwear, like, and I don't tell them that, but that's what's going on. There's a sock hanging off my toe, big toe, and there's crisps all over my chest, and I'm just like sitting there in my grossness, and, um, but they don't seem to realize. They think that we have this ongoing connection all the time that when I walk into a room, I hear everyone's like I know everyone's life story and I know all their, spirit showing me all their pains and spirit showing me their dead grandma. And that's not for me, that's not how it works, and that's not how I'd want it to work for me. For me,
Mm.
I have to attune. So before I go to a fair or before I do a reading for someone, I'm actually prepping like 20 minutes in advance, um, where
mm,
I'm calming myself down. I'm doing some meditations. I open up all my chakras, like my main seven chakras, seven, right? But anyway, and then I
Yeah.
do other
mhm,
chakras to open up into the like more into the universal realm, and then I have a chakra that I open up and spend time opening up that opens up the mediumship side for me, where I can hear from spirit, like loved ones around. I'm also asking my spirit guides to come around me, and I'm taking myself into a different zone, and that takes time. And people don't seem to realize that you're not just getting things like this. You have to,
mm,
you're opening yourself up and putting yourself in position to hear that you can receive. And actually, when I do that, then I can trust what I hear. It's not me thinking, is it a thought? I know my thoughts from what spirit's saying, and that's through practice. So also, it's taken years for us to practice our gifting. You know,
Yeah. Absolutely.
I go to two development circles a week where where I sit with other people and I practice, and then I practice on my own. And that, this isn't some willy-nilly gift that we just have. Some people do, but
mm,
to attune it, I've had to attune my gift, and I'm still attuning it. I'm still a work in progress. I don't think I ever will stop until the day I pass over to the next realm. And I don't think people that are getting readings sometimes realize how much work and energy. So like I know for Mitch and I know for myself, and I'm sure you've experienced this too, Carly. After a day of reads, I used to groom dogs, which was a physical job. Okay, where I would just be absolutely on my knees at the end of the day, tired. And I feel that same type of exhaustion after doing 6, 7, 8 reads in a day, where I'm
Yeah,
absolutely, when I've shut down and my body has come back, I'm really tired. And people just don't seem to realize how much is given and received, even in the spirit realm, and the process of attuning yourself and figuring out, wanting to give the best evidence you can, and figuring out what spirit, what's you, and really learning those learning curves that life, like, I don't think people realize the amount of work that goes into doing this type of work.
definitely. It's like when we did the recent Witches Fair in Westbury, you know, that for me, that was a full on day of doing the reads as well as hosting the event and everything. And then at the end of the day, you know, me and Lucy would normally sometimes maybe go out for a meal afterwards, and we sort of looked at each other and I was like, I'm fucked. I just need to get home, you know? And
Yeah.
you know, it was nothing personal to Lucy because I love going out for our meals and our catch ups and with the boys, but it was just like I literally have no energy left, you know?
Yeah, and I think when we ask for
okay.
money, that people should realize that there is actually a lot of background besides the read
Mm,
that has gone into what we've done for that person that's sitting in front of us. A lot of background. And it's scary. It's
And
scary stepping out and saying, okay, I'm going to put my kind of integrity on the line here and do a read for you. And if it doesn't resonate with the person, you're kind of left there in limbo going, oh God, I don't know, you know, what happened there, or you feel a bit embarrassed.
yeah,
Does that make sense? It really can be a
yeah,
blow to a reader. So there's also that too that goes into it, that you're taking a chance, you might not get it right. And
yeah.
so that's also in the background too, a little bit of fear and a little bit of, you know, putting yourself out there. So I think people, when they sit in front of us, and I don't mean this in a mean way, I mean it in like, there's a lot that goes into using your spiritual gifts.
Definitely,
And
definitely.
I think us as spiritual people, as a tribe, generally on the whole, listening to you guys just then, obviously I see both points of view. I see the store point of view, and I see been in the reader point of view as well, not to the extent that you guys have, but I completely and utterly resonate with the being shattered. It's a completely different exchange of energy from working the stall to reading. Now, working the stall, even though sometimes I give the same type of things, possibly not the high intensity reading, because it's you're not sort of sat with a sitter in front of you, you still do sometimes pick up stuff, you feel people's energy, you then resonate with what they might need, so there is still that exchange of energy, but not to the undiluted condensedness. I think us as spiritual people need to not be worried. I'm sort of telling myself here, really, not to be worried to ask for that monetary exchange as well. I think we've really got to um, not be worried about, not be worried about asking £30 for a read, or putting prices up on things. I mean, it's something we always struggle with. Hardware always struggles with it terribly. I mean, but there's also that thing from my point of view, is I like to knowing how money is going with people that are coming in and buying on a bardware stall side of things. I like to make things accessible for people who need those things to buy. But then you also run into the people coming and look at things and look how much work goes into my dad's boxes. He doesn't just pick up a box and start working on it, a wand, he doesn't just pick up a stick and go, oh, I'm just going to stick a quartz crystal thing. He sits there and he works with it. He works with the wood. He puts the crystal in the end. He wonders whether or not it should have any moon glyphs or runes on it. He then writes the certificate. There's all that intention, all that energy going into that tool for people to use. And the price we actually charge for our wands, you look how much wands are out on the market for something that's actually more elaborate than what dad's producing. Some of them are 30, £40. And you just think, I said, Dad, I say to Dad, well, we can't charge 30, 40 quid. And he goes, why not? And I go, because it's a lot of money. And I feel guilty for asking for that money. But like Lucy's saying, when you break it down, you think how much energy goes in. There's a lot there, isn't there, really? It's
definitely.
talking about it and sticking it out there is actually a real massive eye opener for me, to be fair.
It's like
Makes you sit there and think,
with my tarot deck, some people have said, oh, £40 is really expensive for a tarot deck. But if you break that down and how that's made up, half the deck money has to go to my artist, or if it's the dog tarot, to the charity. Then there's the printing costs. Then there's the tins. Then there's the postage and everything else. So by the time you strip it all back, the percentage I take is very little.
You're probably making like three to 5 quid off of each deck yourself personally,
Yeah, like maybe £10 at the most, but everything else is actually outlaid. And you get people say, oh, but other decks are like £12. Yes, they are. They're mass produced or they're bought in bulk, so they can be then sort of done for that price. And there's nothing wrong with those types of deck. But when something is self-published, I feel there's a lot more love into it. So like you're saying, Carly, with the stuff that you make yourself, it's not mass produced. It's just not off some little line in China. It's got that magic, it's got that energy in, isn't it? I don't feel bad about charging £40 because I know what that £40 is made up of. And I also feel the right product or the right deck will go to the right types of people. So I don't have that fear anymore. I always remember in the early days when I used to do readings for £5, and I used to be so scared to charge a fiver. And I did that for about 2 or 3 years, where I would just charge £5, and then someone said, put your prices up. So I upped it to a tenner, and that terrified me. Oh my God, £10 for a reading. Are people going to pay that? Of course they're going to pay that. They were quids in, but at the time you don't feel that, do you? So
and the thing is that you're charging for that, all that work, all that energy, when that person's in front of you, like for a read, for instance, and same with your stall. When that person's in front of you, that's the only person in the world that matters to you right now. All my energy is going into that person. I'm opening myself up to spirit, to hear, to voice to that person that's sitting in front of me, to give them the best possible experience from spirit that can be channeled through me, And I take that with great pride. And yes, I get to the end of every read, and sometimes they're hugging me and there's tears, or there's this and that going on, or they're laughing. And then I go, I have to do the dirty deed. And they're like, oh, payment. And most people are very joyful at paying, but it's always that moment where you have to ask for it. And it's awkward, but at the same time, I think if we get into ourselves, it's that exchange of energy. So, you're blessing, I'm blessing you, and spirit's blessing you through me, and I'm using myself as the portal, and I've done the work to get myself to be that portal, that as clear as I can get it for now. And so you're blessing me with the exchange of money. So I get a little bit when people text me that don't know me well and stuff like that, because my friends don't text me, like close friends don't text me and ask me for a free read, there on the spot. I feel like you don't really understand the spirit world. You don't understand the bigger picture. You had that just recently, Mitch, where the song, when he was telling me about a client and how they wanted a specific person to come through, and they were really pissed. He got everyone else and the evidence behind that, but they were really pissed that this person didn't come through, and Mitch was like, what do you think? Or, and instantly the song, Dance for Me, Dance for Me. Do you know the Dance Monkey song? Of like, dance for me, dance for me. It came into my head of like, come on, do it the way I want. And that's so disrespectful I'm going to be blunt here, and people could be really angry. I find that very disrespectful to spirit. I do. And I find that like, go for it, Mitch.
Yeah, as a channel, we have to keep it real as well. So like, I can never tell people something if I don't see it or if I don't feel it firsthand. So I'm not saying that person they wanted was not there, but they weren't coming in enough for me to be able to give clear validation. And I'm not going to say somebody's there if they're not, because I do not believe in giving people false hope. And people can will and want, and you've come highly recommended. I only booked with you because you, my friend had this or my friend had that, and it's great that your friends had that experience, but every experience is an experience, and I can't guarantee the same delivery can be given, because there could be 1,000 reasons why one particular spirit doesn't come in or is not ready to come in, you know. And in that particular situation, when I learnt of the way that this person passed over and the time frame, it had only been a very small amount of time, it made complete sense. They were in a healing realm. They needed to sort stuff out that wasn't available, healing that wasn't available on the earth, that became available in the spirit world. So that's likely the reason that they weren't able to sort of link at that point in time. It doesn't mean that they won't be able to link in the future, but at that space, they weren't ready. So I'm not going to sort of promise that if I'm not feeling it. Sorry, I've gone off on one.
And I
But
think that's
like,
I think that's awesome, and I think that's integrity, Mitch, because a lot
yeah,
of people, muggles out there, if we advertise too, scary thing, advertising. If we advertise, the first thing is like stuff like you guys to take advantage of people in their time of need or in their time of grief, and it's like, what? What? Good
yeah,
good mediums, good tarot readers always have the evidence. The evidence will be there, you know? And I'll tell you, I know Mitch is the same. And Carly, I'm sure you're the same, and I know I am. And in our development groups that I'm in, too, if we have a guest come in and they start telling us about where their life or who they, and we're like, shut up, no, 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 no,
Shh.
do not,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
do not
Yeah, don't say
feed,
yeah.
anything.
Don't
do
feed the
not
media.
feed the
Yeah.
reader, please. And like people will sit down in front of
Mm.
me and they start opening up, and I'm like, nope, nope. And I do it,
Yep, yep,
don't feed
yep.
me. Don't
Mm,
feed me. I don't want to
mm,
know anything about you. Let's see what
mm,
spirit has to say,
mm,
because that's the experience, if that makes sense. That
mm,
nothing can be,
mm,
Yeah,
that I don't want to know anything because I don't want it to feel like I'm manipulating the situation or that I'm biased
mm,
or I'm saying something
mm,
off the information they did. So I get actually quite sad or a little bit when someone sits down and starts telling me all their stuff before I can even
mm.
get started, because
Start.
I think, oh no, here the read's just kind of devalued in a way because that's part of the
yeah. I
Mm,
mean,
experience is that evidence.
mm.
I was going to
It's
say on
like
my
I.
website. Oh, go on.
No, go on,
Go on.
Mitch. Go on.
Oh,
Carry on.
I was going to say very quickly, like on my website, I've actually got like a disclaimer that says when you book a session, if you tell me anything prior, I'm going to have to void the session. So I actually put that as a disclaimer so people are
Oh,
aware.
that's a good
If you're
idea.
coming
Yeah.
to me,
That's good.
yeah,
That's a really good
Karen
idea.
Carly, go on.
Yeah. No. Can I speak now? Um.
You need bell.
Go.
um. So, like when I do readings, I always say to somebody. I mean, when obviously done readings at the witches market, and Charlene, bless her, one of my friends who I know well, but I don't know as well as my best mate M, um, sat in front of me. I said to her, I said, well, you know how I read. So the way I read is I also try not to look at people because humans will naturally look in a psychology way will naturally look for a reaction like us, we're looking at each other now, we're looking for a reaction, we're looking for a nod, and I don't want my human side to catch on to that and subconsciously start looking for answers in that, and because it then becomes a cold read, doesn't it? I use the
Mhm.
bunny ears because then you're gripping onto or potentially could grip onto what that person, that sitter, is coming back to you. If you turn over a card and go, oh, look, this is happening, you look up at them. So I will say before I start, this is how I read. This is what I will do. Don't worry if I'm not looking at you. It's not because what is coming through is not what I'm being fed. It said it's so I know that I'm not picking up signals that you are giving me in a human, and my human picks up, my psychological human brain picks up and starts working with. Because then I also then feel as though I'm not doing a true reading if I'm picking up from somebody,
But
if I'm
can
picking
I
up and
be
reacting.
can I say something,
Yeah, go
Carly,
on.
to that? I totally
Yeah.
get where you're coming from. But two, can't spirit speak to you through how someone's looking at you?
Yeah,
I can get
sometimes.
energy,
Yeah. Yeah,
I
they
can
do.
get the energy from someone sitting in front of me and I just look at them and spirit will start speaking to me something about them. Does that make sense? And when I say
Yeah.
speaking,
Yeah.
I don't hear that person in front of you, Lucy, is going through a really hard. husband just left them. That's not what I'm hearing. It's
No.
it's a feeling. Sometimes, and
Feeling, yeah.
a lot feeling with pictures in my mind's eye, and it might be a picture of something I've gone through. Does that make sense? That spirit will bring up a memory of mine, but it pertains to that energy in that situation that that person's going through, that I can kind of get what spirit's saying by that. Does that make sense? So like if some sort of memory of a trauma comes up for me, it will be the same kind of energy that that person's going through at that time. And some people can read auras too. So the person sits in front of them and they can feel and sense the aura around that person and the energy that's carrying. So for you, that works, but I don't, and I'm not disclaiming what you're saying because I totally get it. Because we are accused as cold readers. Does that make sense? People say, oh, they're really good at reading people. Well, maybe we're really good at reading people too, because that's a spiritual gift. You know what I'm saying? A lot of spiritual gifts can come from trauma. I know we're way off the abundance thing here and living. We've gone on
done
a
a
rabbit trail.
complete rabbit trail.
But like trauma, it's a lot of people can read people's energy from being traumatized as a child. If you come from an abusive background, or you never knew what you're going to walk into when you walked into a room as a child, you can learn to read a room fast. Does that make sense? You learn to read people fast because you want to protect yourself. That can actually be used. That trauma can be used when healed in a very wonderful way, where you can read people's energy. Does that make sense? And spirit takes that trauma and uses it for good, that you can read people's energy and help them and help heal and help bring things to light and this and that. So, you know, it's different for everyone. But again, let's get back to the human experience, and I'm sorry for that, you guys.
But that is part of the human experience, isn't it? The fact that we all read our own independent way. Because as you guys are talking, for me, my mediumship is completely different to both of what you've said, you know. So for me, if I've got somebody in front of me, it's almost like I see in my mind's eye a portal of stars. My higher spirit rises, and I almost see like a movie reel in amongst these stars. And that's how spirit give me bits and pieces, and I rejig that into... Yeah. Not always, but a lot of the time, you know, so it's completely different. And I think that's the lovely thing about being human and being spirit in human form. We're all going through a similar thing, yet so differently. You know, we're all having multiple experiences of life within the one vessel of life. So when people say like, oh, there's no such thing as other worlds and other dimensions, we're living it now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who's to say though that there's no such thing as other worlds and other dimensions? I mean,
well, exactly.
You know, yeah.
But
I mean, the thing is, obviously, we're going to go down another rabbit hole now, because you know, there's, how can you? I mean, I suppose, I mean, everybody, people that don't believe in that, that's up to them. They can have that opinion. They're completely entitled to that. We're not saying that you can't say it, but when you have evidence put in front of you, that we all know that energy doesn't stop when, we've spoken about this before, when this transportation device stops and ceases, our bodies as carcasses stops and ceases, we all know energy carries on. So how can you snuff that energy out, and where does it go? But then how can you not say it doesn't exist when people like yourself, Mitch, and Lucy come forward with such amazing evidence that no one else could? You can't just pluck that out the air. You can't just suddenly say to someone, I mean, I've sat and watched you at Bath talking about a gentleman's football programs and football shirts, selling them on eBay. The family had spoken about it, and you pluck it out the air and go, you know, that's so specific. There's no way that you could even cold read that or generalize. You know how sometimes you have generalization readings. Yeah. There's no way you could. There's just no way. I'm quite passionate about this. Can't you tell? But there's just no way that you can, you know, not say that there is something, another realm or another entity or another plane out there. Because where does that information come from?
Yeah, but
there's just
like working in this realm and seeing other people work in this realm. us, we're like, it's like a little culture, isn't it? It's like a little nucleus. So we see the miracles all the time. We see the amazing work the spirit can do. For someone that's not in the culture and not in the nucleus, their mind is going to say, no. Does that make sense?
Mm,
They'll try to pick it apart because it's so much for the brain to kind of get. And they
It's so
think,
fearful for them, isn't it?
yeah, and it's impossible. They think it's impossible. So there's got to be some trickery to it. And maybe that is their spirit having a human experience. Maybe that's their
Yeah.
human experience on this earth.
mm,
You know,
true.
I'm going to go into something about past lives. This I was in my development circle. They knew nothing, okay? Nothing about my Christian background and my deconstruction. And lots of people don't know about the years and years and years of, I would call it living hell I went through trying to deconstruct, okay, from religion. And we were doing a thing where we were meditating together in little groups. And so I had two women with me and myself, and they were meditating on what our past life would be if they could get any kind of like feeling or evidence. And I thought, well, they could make up anything. Do you know what I'm saying? And say it, and that would be my past life. So I went in there with a little bit of skepticism about what this could be. And they both got the same thing, which was quite crazy. But what it was so evidential. They said that they could see me way back in time, like really far back in time. I'm talking probably Christ type time, maybe after Christ type time, but maybe around that time. And I was like one of those religious people, like Jewish, almost against the wall, kind of like
Mm,
doing the prayers and stuff like that. And that I was very, very high up in the religious order. And I was not agreeing inside of me with the religious order and how religion was coming about and how it was dictating to people's lives. But I was absolutely petrified to stand up against the religious order because I was going to be killed. And that this earthly life,
Oh,
I was meant to break that religious spirit, that religious streak.
mm,
They knew nothing about my whole 18 years of deconstructing. Like,
wow.
that was mind blowing.
That's pretty
mm,
powerful, isn't it?
mm,
Very.
Yeah.
And then it showed me too, I was on the correct path because I've had
mm,
doubts. Am I doing the right thing? Is this just a rebellion in me? Does that make sense? But when they were talking about this gentleman, I want to cry. I could feel his fear because I felt that fear in this life. I didn't think I was going to, well, I didn't think people were going to kill me, but I thought maybe I'd be snuffed out. You know, all powerful God was just going to, because I'm, going against that kind of thing. And I've had those deep fears, deep fears and deep anxieties. And so what they said totally resonated with what I had gone through in this life, feeling his past up. And it what I say about spirit, if it's real, the evidence will be there, but they also are so kind to us that they will even prove the evidence again and again to a certain degree. Not
mm.
with us
Yeah.
going, come on, prove it, prove it, prove it. Not that type of thing. But when they know that you need that evidence, you need that there, spirit will bring that forth. I really
Yeah,
truly believe
spirit will
that.
always deliver. Well, when you think of like, when you think of when in my bed shop days, I was I went in on the bed shop. I was meant to be off a particular day, worked the day. It was the dead day where nobody likes to do it on the Wednesday. It was the dead shift. This woman comes in off the street who ended up being a medium, brought forward Paul's mum, who'd only been gone a few months. How the hell would she know that? I wasn't even meant to be working that day. Spirit aligned that up completely. There's no way that could have
Mm,
been researched or known about or anything.
Well, Paul's
So I
so
think it is,
private. You know what I'm saying? Like Paul's one of those
yeah,
people
he
you
is.
can't find anywhere, you know?
Exactly, and for that to happen, that was really, really powerful on so many levels, for him and me. And I just think that is the beauty, the magic, and the depth of what spirit can do.
mm, mm.
They blow my mind.
It's quite
Spirit
amazing, isn't
blows
it?
my mind. Yeah.
Mm, mm. I
Not to be a
think
party
if
pooper, but we're coming up to the Witcher hour, guys, just to let you know.
I don't even, well,
are
I think
we?
we did talk about what it is to be a spirit having a human experience. I think We didn't scratch the surface.
I think
but
all these little
kind of
strands, these
skimmed
strands
the
come in.
surface.
Yeah. Yeah, they do. And also, talking about the abundance side of things, I mean, we're talking about you always forever learning. Sometimes it's the experience that we have as readers or on the stall. We'll have a new experience talking to people about stuff, and sometimes we are mirrored, aren't we? That happens quite a lot. So somebody will be in front of you, and it'll make you stop and think about something that's going on in your own spirit human experience at that time, and it'll make you go, oh, okay, that's interesting. So I think a lot of the time we're given abundance or have learning curves, not always necessarily in a monetary form. That's not saying that we shouldn't charge for what we do and be appreciative. People appreciate what we do, what you guys do, or what we all do as a collective. But yeah, we can have experiences and abundance in a different way as well, can't we? Which is quite,
Yeah, there's always messages within messages, often I find, which sometimes can be the gifting from the spirit world. But I think when you're putting so much energy into something, I like my hand to be laced with silver as well, personally. And I don't feel shameful about that.
Yeah, I'm giving my time. I'm giving my time, my effort, and I've put in extra time besides the appointment to get to the point of being open enough to be able to read for the person and all that. And then I do my extra work outside of that in the sense of going to circles, and I pay for those to keep myself, learning and
flowing.
opening and all that. I think we should never be ashamed to say, this is what I charge. And
this is my work, isn't it, really?
This is my worth. And you know what? If people, the right people will see your worth. And also the thing of, we were going to talk about just quickly, you have the right to say, no, I'm not sharing my gift with you. If you don't feel resonant to that person,
yeah,
you don't have to share your gift with everyone that comes in front of you either. I'm lucky. I've always had beautiful, beautiful clients come in front of me so far. But I know Mitch has been doing it for a long time. That you've had some not so beautiful ones.
I've had people that I've had to turn away for various reasons. I've had a few people that have decided they want additions from me that I'm not willing to give out. So you get the good, the bad, the ugly with this walk of life. The bulk of my clients are amazing, but there have been situations where I've had to say, sorry, I can't read for you, or the circumstances have gone into a space where it becomes ethically not safe or practical for me to read for people. And that's okay. It is okay to say no. And I don't feel bad about it, because those people have taken the energy and moved it into a space that I'm not prepared to go to.
I agree. That's sticking true to your authenticity. And also, if you feel that way, I feel like that spirit telling you this is not, you don't even have to know why. Does that make sense? But it's just like trusting your gut, trusting spirit in your gut, and going, yeah, I don't think I'm the right person. And I know that, I know that people have sent readings to me where they've oh, Lucy would probably be a better match energy wise to this person, or have you? I've even said to people have you thought of going to Mitch? He people have come to me, oh, I want mediumship, and I can do it when it comes, but I'm not as fluent in it as Mitch is, where that door is open and he can usually hear from someone. Does that make sense on the other side that will resonate with that client? So, it's being open enough to pass each other on, pass each other's, so that we're keeping the client and that they're getting the best experience. Yeah. Oh, awesome, guys.
And I think that's really important, because then, we better go, haven't we?
We'd be chatting away all day otherwise. I got Oscar down here prodding me come on, when are we going to wrap this up?
He didn't bark once for this one. He was having a heyday earlier, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was a bit wild earlier, but he's just looking at me as if wrap this up, Dad. Come on, we've got shit to
do. Dance for me, dance for me, dance for me. He's saying, right?
He's the only person I can't say no to.
That's fair enough. I'd agree with that.
What was that movie, Mitch? Was it called Burnt Salt, or the salt? What was the dance?
Oh, Saltburn.
Sorry. I
Oh,
won't
the
bring it up.
murder
I'll
on the
bring it
dance
up.
floor one.
Nope, Saltburn. I always imagine that bitch is doing the Saltburn dance after a day of reads. Okay, everyone, I'll leave
I can
that with
assure
you.
Yeah, I think we're going to go
that
Google
image?
that now.
On that note, I'm going to bow out gracefully.
Oh, it was lovely, you guys, as always. And I want to say love and light and namaste from Verbal Diarrhea.
Thanks for having us, guys, or listening to us.
Thanks for
seeing-
listening and looking
Please
at
like
us.
and subscribe. Yeah, please like and subscribe on YouTube. Lots of love, everyone. Bye for now.
Take
Bye
care.
now.
Bye.